Good morning. Welcome to On Texas Football. It's time for the Saturday conversation. I'm Bobby Burton, joined by none other than Rod Babers. This episode of Saturday Conversation brought to you by our friends over at Advanced Pain Care, Dr. Mark Malone. We'll talk a little bit more about them in a little bit. Rod, you and I both got a chance to watch a couple of practices earlier this week. I thought this morning would be a good time for you and I to kind of get together and just review a little bit.
Yeah.
And a couple of key topics maybe that we thought about or saw. And I want to start this morning at quarterback, where Arch Manning, obviously, this is his team. There's no questioning that. There may be a battle brewing for backup quarterback. We kind of think there is. But let's start, and I want to get you kind of on the record early in this campaign about where you think Arch is at and what he looks like to you.
Well, I think he looks good to me. I mean, I will stand by. I think everybody's initial assessment of him is that he likes the vertical shots down the field. Oh, yeah. And I even told some of the DBs, I'm like, man, y'all shouldn't have any trouble defending deep passes when the season comes around, because you're going to be thoroughly tested by Arch and the deep ball all throughout training camp, because he does like some of those vertical routes downfield, just from what I got a chance to see. And he has nice touch on those vertical shots down the field. He does have, I think, more zip on the football, period. Just kind of noticing just from last season, obviously, with Quinn. Even DeAndre Moore actually said something about that, said that, I think he said something to the effect that Quinn had these nice pillow soft throws and Arch put some zip on it. I think you noticed that just out there, that there's more kind of velocity on those throws than with Quinn. That's just because I think Arch is a different level of maybe arm talent in that arena. I think the backup quarterback position to me, and he's gonna run too, by the way. Arch is when the pocket breaks down, the play breaks down, he's gonna get out of there. And he's going to run. I think that's going to be fun, too. I even saw a little bit of that in practice. But the backup quarterback position, I think, is particularly compelling, because I would just say, and I'm not saying this guy's going to win the backup job. I'm just talking about backups behind Arch. KJ Lacey is such a naturally gifted passer. He's so smooth with it. And, I mean, the ball really does kind of jump off of his hand, and the ball placement for him, for a young player, is more consistent than I would have expected from a freshman. So I'm just gonna throw it out there that watching the backups, watching the quarterbacks, he did stand out to me a little bit. I think Matthew Caldwell right now is probably, like I said, very small sample size, minuscule. What do we know? That they must like his poise and his pocket presence, because to me, it looks like, he's a guy that could end up winning that backup job. I mean, he looked pretty comfortable, considering it's a brand new offense, brand new weapons around him. I thought he looked pretty comfortable. Trey Owens, to me, I still think has higher upside than a guy like Matthew Caldwell, but experience really matters, especially in SEC play and conference play. And also, I thought that Trey Owens probably need to be a little more consistent with his ball placement. Considering he's got chemistry with these guys and he's been with them. But like I said, really small sample size, but I do think you're going to have a really heated competition for that backup quarterback position throughout training camp.
Yeah. Here's my thing. I agree with you and I talked to Jerry and Jeff about this as well, about the quarterback situation. And KJ Lacey may be the most natural thrower of the football of the whole group. And that's he's like a baseball shortstop that and lead, it's kind of interesting. That's who he is. Now, he doesn't have the gun that
the frame, yes,
or the frame that Arch Manning does. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to make sure he's much more of a Quinn Ewers type of quarterback that will feather it in there.
Oh yeah, I like that.
But he's more mobile,
mm-hmm.
and also shorter. There's no doubt about that. So. But as it relates to the key role, the key backup spot, which is what we think Caldwell and Owens are going after, I want to ask you this. I mean, what I saw from Caldwell, I agree with you. I think he looked crisp. He looked like he was attacking practice in a professional manner.
Yep.
You could tell he was going through all of his reads and all. You know what I mean? He was checking people off, looking down, even though he knew he was going to go to the third or fourth read. He was still going through those mental aspects with him. Trey Owens is just got this big arm though, and he has a year experience in Sark's system, and so I feel like that backup role, Rod, is going to come down to between those two guys, and we'll see where it happens. Even though, to your point, KJ Lacey looks really, really good.
I feel like for Trey Owens, though, he's got to win it going away. You know what I mean? I feel like he's going to put some separation between he and Caldwell, just because I know for a fact experience is going to be one of the data points they consider. How much of it will probably be considered about, knock on wood, if and when something would happen to your starter, right? If it happens, Sam Houston game, it'd probably be a different decision if it happens in the middle of SEC play, right? But I feel like Trey Owens has got to leave no doubt. And I feel like if it's close, they may give it to Caldwell. Even if it's close and Trey Owens got a little bit of an advantage, they go, let's go with the experience because it's close. But
and Caldwell can run better than
he can run. That's true. That's actually, I didn't even bring that up. He can. That's a good point.
Yeah, so he at least gives you a two-way go.
Yeah, so that's why I feel like if Trey's going to win it, he's got to leave no doubt. He's got to blow him away. If it's close, I think they're going to go with Caldwell.
Go with the guy that has 5 starts in his belt in FCS.
And has the added mobility, like you said, too.
Yep, yeah, I get it. All right, before we move on, we're going to talk a little bit more about DBs. Rod had a great segment earlier this week about it, but I want to rehash something that maybe you saw in the second practice we attended. But first, let's say thank you to our sponsor, Advanced Pain Care.
Pros know the pain stops here.
Physical therapy helps me as an athlete then and now. And do I still need therapy? Yes. Advanced Pain Care helps with that.
Injuries will stack up. They'll add up. You can't let those injuries get you down, and Advanced Pain Care has been very helpful for me.
We can help with whatever's got you down, from nerve damage to our spinal cord stimulator. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Same-day appointments available.
Advanced Pain Care. The pain stops here.
To Dr. Mark Malone and the guys over at Advanced Pain Care. Before we do move to the DBs, I want to go back to something that you said at the very outset when you were talking about Arch Manning and the difference that DeAndre Moore pointed out, like the velo and as well as being able to run. Last year, Arch Manning's average pass attempt went for 10.4 yards. Quinn Ewers went 7.8.
That's significant.
That's 2.5, 3. That's a big delta between two guys that are in the same offense.
Yep.
I mean, the offense last year was not fundamentally different. Those two in the game. And so to your point about the deep ball and the nice touch, I agree with you. All right, DBs. Rod, you had a great piece, and I mentioned this earlier on Wednesday about the DBs and talking about what you saw, and you came away kind of, they had a bunch of guys back there that looked like dudes. They're big, etc. I want to ask you on the DBs, your early take on that, because when I went and talked with Jalen Gilbo on Thursday after practice, he was one of the guys that came into the media scrum kind of afterwards, and he was talking about how he really wants to be a corner because he thinks that's his way to make money.
Yeah,
I mean, and provide for his kid. I'm not short again for that. Do you feel like he's going to do that, or do you just from early on, or do you think Kobe Black, Warren Roberson might be better off and then move Gilbo back to nickel? Just early feel on that.
Yeah, and I have come to, and like I said, we're 2-3 days into training camp now, but I believe now you have like 3 or 4 separate conversations happening in the secondary, and maybe in a couple of weeks when they have a bigger sample size of these guys working different positions or whatever, and they put in the basic install, they'll start converging these conversations. And here's what I mean. I think the Jalen Gilbo conversation, whether he's going to be a nickel or a corner right now, it's, although related, it's a separate conversation than the Grayson Littleton conversation is, hey, is this young man ready to give you a starter caliber reps at star position when you got Ohio State as your first game? And then there's like a Derek Williams conversation about where you actually do, is he a part of your best 5? He is, if he's healthy. When is he going to be healthy? And then you have 3 starting safeties with Taft and Jelani McDonald, right? So I just think there's a lot of different conversations happening. And I think ultimately Gilbo looks, and maybe it's because he's a new dad, right? Yeah. Being a new dad puts a pep in your step. So I got me a 22-month-old, and I remember when I first had it, puts pep in your step. So maybe it's that. But he looks more comfortable. He looks more confident at corner. And I think he looks, and to me, a little more technically proficient. I think he's getting out of his breaks quicker. The reason I think this is true, and I'm projecting, but it's easier to play corner. It's just easier to play corner than star. It's easier to play corner than star. Right? Jerry tells a story about Deion Sanders talking about toughest position to play in the secondary. I can attest to that. It is. And so I think if you can master that, think about the lineage of nickel at Texas. Ever since I played, I started like 3 games as a freshman, all right, at the nickel position, star position. Very different league, by the way. Air Raid just came into the league, but still at the time, everything happens faster. At corner, time to process, right? You got like a half a second, and you have view. I can see more, so I can have more clues to work with, right? To process things. Safety, same thing. I got the best view of anybody on the defense. I can see everything as it's developing, and there's time to process, maybe a second and a half. At nickel and star, there is no time. It is all instincts. You have to go right now. It is muscle memory. And that's why with a freshman, that's a little bit, you're taking a chance there. So, but I think Gilbo is, if you're just looking at it, and the coaches probably are, I'm sure, he's better at corner. I feel like he's going to be a better corner than he is a nickel.
You think he's a better corner than a nickel?
I think at times he looked a little uncomfortable at the nickel. Remember how comfortable Jade was? Remember how quick reacting Jade was? And Gilbo had some of that. And maybe I'm just saying if Gilbo does it more, then he will. But now even in his head, he's already thinking, I'm better at corner. If he thinks he's better at corner, he's probably better at corner.
Yeah, this is true. On Thursday, he was one of the guys that came in. We talked about this. And I asked him, is it easier for you to play nickel or corner? Which one? He goes, oh, it's corner because he used the sideline as a sideline. Yeah, he said that they had a 2-way go on from the slot, and it's more difficult. So you're right. I just wonder.
And then if Kobe Black kind of the secret, he's the secret piece here, right? Because if Kobe Black starts to separate and win that job at that corner spot, then you're looking for your best 5, and you go, well, Kobe's part of my best 5. And then in order to put my best 5 on the field, Gilbo, I got to put you inside because you're the one who's the most versatile piece for us. It may not be your best position, but it's going to make our secondary perform at its highest level. And that's a different conversation. It's like 4 of those conversations happening right now simultaneously.
And it's just too early, right?
And it's just, we just don't have enough.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. Was there anybody other than Littleton? Was there anybody? Every time we talk to people, Cade Phillips's name comes up, but now he hasn't practiced. He didn't practice the first 2 days at least.
His spirits are up though. His spirits are up. I talked to him. His spirits are up though. His spirits are up. He's not down on himself or anything like that. But yeah,
gotcha. Okay, all right. Well, let's move on. Wide receivers. You watched them quite a bit, especially in that second practice. I want to separate them into two parts, if you don't mind. The older guys, the ones that are either transferred in or coming back from last year, and the new guys, the new faces. So let's start with Ryan Wingo, DeAndre Moore, Parker Livingstone, and Emmett Mosley. What did you think of that first group of 4 from the Longhorns? What did you notice maybe that has changed from a year ago with those guys even?
The first thing is Parker Livingstone for me because I've seen DeAndre Moore, I've seen Ryan Wingo. I'll start with the guys that I hadn't seen any real personal, obviously up close and personally, and that was Parker Livingstone. I hadn't really watched a lot of them, and for a guy as long and as rangy as he is, I was pleasantly surprised with how quickly he got in and out of his breaks, able to sink his hips and get in and out of breaks on some of these short intermediate routes. That's what in terms of the long developing movement, vertical routes downfield, I think he's going to be awesome because he's got what I call like a long twitch where he can hit another gear once he is in full stride, right? And then the ball's thrown, and he actually, at that point, I think has another gear to hit. He's one of those guys. So and on those long routes downfield, I think he's going to be great. What I worry about was, can he create separation by sinking his hips, getting in and out of breaks?
3rd and 5.
Yeah,
3rd and 5. Yeah.
Routes. that I found he did a really good job of. Matter of fact, start complimenting him a few times on some of those routes. So that's what I liked about Parker Livingstone. I think he's going to be a dude. I'm right now really confident that Parker Livingstone can actually be a real contributor and impact player on the offense. Emmett Mosley, strange thing about Emmett Mosley is, freakishly, in terms of freakish traits, he doesn't, I don't think, jump off the page to me with what he does with route running, right? Some guys, they look like dudes when they're running routes because you can see, the explosion, you can see, the verticality, you can see the speed and the burst. With Emmett Mosley, I'll admit, I don't know if that jumps off the page to you or that is eye-popping to you. I guarantee you, though, from what I've seen on films, I watched a lot of film on Emmett Mosley, that when they start going up against guys, one-on-ones, 7-on-7 and team drill, when he's got to go fight for footballs, I think that's when he's going to showcase his talent the most. I think that he's got to go win at the catch point. He may be honestly, right now, thinking about it, he may be your best receiver at the catch point.
Yeah, 50-50 ball.
Yeah, he's really good. I know Wingo's in that conversation too. And Wingo obviously wasn't at practice in the last window, but that first, Wingo, it goes without saying. He should be your number one target in the receiving game. You should force feed him the football, and it should find him naturally and organically because he's got gravity. Gravity, he is going to attract defenders to him because they have to, because they one-on-ones, he's going to win too consistently.
DeAndre Moore, because he was there on Thursday as well. He said, I want to be the best receiver in college football. I want to win a natty. I want to set the Texas touchdown record. I want to catch 1,200 yards worth of passes.
Yeah. Now I was standing by Huff Daddy, and Huff and I were talking, and Huff said to me, he's like, this was it was on Thursday. He's like, hey man, Wednesday, I didn't notice you, man. Was you out here? Did you make an impact? And he's like, oh no, I made an impact. And they were talking some trash back and forth. But when he got done, I was like, oh, why are you giving him a hard time? And he's like, no, every practice he should have big plays. There shouldn't be a practice go by where you're like, man, remember that play? Or that play, or that play. And he's right. He's one of them dudes. I remember Roy Williams and guys like B.J. Johnson back then. It's like, yeah, they had a couple of them big plays in practice where it stood out. And so I'm not saying he didn't, because obviously we weren't privy to all the practice, but I'm saying I think that's the challenge for him. Make those impact plays, those big plays, every practice, every game with that kind of consistency. Remember, DeAndre Moore didn't even, you can say that for a couple of our receivers, but DeAndre Moore, remember that early part of the season where the ball just didn't find him in the offense? Like he couldn't get a target.
He
dropped a couple, right? And then later on, because Sark kept talking about it, hey, I'm going to find a way to get this guy the football. And then, boom, just kind of broke. I might have been actually Arch a little bit in one of Arch's starts where he really started to break out. So I think the challenge for him is now you can't go ghost in a game. You're too good for that. Right. And that's kind of what it meant to me when Huff was like, no, I'm challenging you every time you're out here to be an impact player, not only from what you do as a blocker or whatever, but actually making impact plays with the ball in your hands, because he's got that capability. He believes, he said it. I can get 1,200 yards here as a player at Texas. So I think everybody believes in him too. And that's going to be a challenge for DeAndre Moore. Can you be that type of go-to number one wide receiver in the offense? And if there's a challenge between he and Wingo for that spot, oftentimes, guys, those end up being the best seasons for players when they're not only competing against the opponent, they're competing against the other really good player opposite of them. There's so many of those stories where guys go, honestly, man, I was just trying to make sure I was better than my teammate. Yep. I'm Alex Okafor and Jackson Jeffcoat and Cedric Reed were talking about stories like that, how they oftentimes are thinking about, man, if I don't get it done, they're going to take me off the field and this young guy is going to take my job, or I want to be better than my teammate who's also one of the best players in the country. Those guys have a unique opportunity to push one another to excellence, I believe.
The younger guys, I'm just gonna put it out there like that, and I'm not going to try to color your response. I want to just get your thoughts on those guys from Day-Day McCutcheon, Michael Terry, Jamie French, Khalid Lockett.
McCutcheon is the most mature, right, in terms of his game overall. Very polished and refined. Shout out to CJ Vogel, because he was telling us that too. And that's why I think people are surprised how high he is up on the depth chart. In terms of that slot receiver role, he might end up being the backup to slot to DeAndre Moore. If you're talking about Michael Terry, Sark was very complimentary of Michael Terry and how he looked. He said that was the best practice he had at practice on Thursday. And with Michael Terry, he's such a unique athlete. In terms of the build and the body and the frame and the combination of size and speed. I can't wait to see what they do with him, because I can't see him as just I know they want to make sure he masters receiver, but I think he can help you in so many unique ways offensively. And it's not just going to be lining him up at wide receiver, but you do want him to learn it and kind of master that first. But I've always liked Michael Terry. I see him ultimately, I've said it before, as a movable chess piece. You can call it Deebo Samuel. I've compared him to Kyle Juszczyk. I think that's where he will be best weaponized is, hey, don't just, because at wide receiver, he's best kind of down the field too, using his frame, some of those movement routes he can run underneath. I don't know if I see him creating a ton of separation, losing guys on, just change of direction and on quick and short routes, right? I see you working him down.
I can see him losing people on a drag route, but not necessarily, necessarily a stop route or something like that.
Yes, you want him to get the ball on the move already and with yak opportunities, right? So that's how I see him. And for the other guys, Khalil Lockett and Jamie French, I do think they might have the highest ceilings actually for the young receivers. It is just that I don't know if they contribute right away, but ultimately both of those guys, you know, by 6'1", 6'2" receivers, they almost fit the prototypical type of modern Sark receiver. Both have great speed, long speed, and I think they're a little bit bigger. And Sark has already admitted, I'm trying to get bigger receivers to help us win some of these one-on-ones on the outside in the SEC. And both of those guys, I think, are prototypical. But right now, McCutcheon, I think, maybe the most impressive of the early guys, just because he's so polished and refined. And that's so rare for young players to have that. I think Grayson Littleton probably has a lot of that too. When you see a young player that's very polished, you're kind of taken aback because usually they're sloppy all over the place, fundamentals awry. And now you go, man, this guy's very technically polished and proficient. That's rare. I feel like McCutcheon is a little bit of that.
Jalen Gilbo called Littleton smart. And DeAndre Moore made a similar comment about Day-Day McCutcheon too.
It's crazy.
And so they're all good athletes at the way Texas is recruiting. The ones that may be getting on the field earlier may have a little bit, more attention to detail and craft at an earlier age.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree. Before we let folks go, again, this is the Saturday Conversation. Thanks again for joining me this morning, Rod. What did you think overall? Just give me a synopsis of what you thought of the team those first couple practices.
Yeah, I was trying to think because Jerry and I and Jeff were talking about this. This roster, right, top to bottom, how talented it is. Like you talk about the freshman class coming in.
It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous, right? I said I don't think any of my rosters, maybe 02, could compete with how talented this roster. Remember 02, we had that 02 class coming in. And still had, the remnants of that 99 class. We were on our way out, but you still had, Sed B and Roy Williams and Derek Johnsons. But I don't know if top to bottom, we had the guys at the top, but we did have that 02 class that came to fill in the depth, and that was a really talented group. So maybe 02, but the most talented rosters in Mack Brown Texas football history have been 05 and 08. And honestly, those are the only two rosters I think that may be able to compete talent-wise, just top to bottom. And from what I've seen a lot of Texas football teams, the size to speed ratio now that they have is unprecedented.
I wonder if that's just the sign of the times, and other teams are like that. But I you know what I mean? Like everybody's getting bigger, stronger, faster, right? Yeah. Guys Leonard Davis was 350 pounds, and everybody thought he was the biggest man ever. And now Texas has two guys came in this recruiting class bigger than Leonard Davis.
Damn, that's crazy.
Isaiah Sharma and Nick Brooks.
What?
Yes.
Wow.
That's what I'm getting at. And so at some point, I'm thinking to myself, is it all relative? Because I wasn't on the field with you, but I've watched all those recruiting classes come in. I've watched all those teams since going back to 90 or going back to 89. And look, when you're around it and you feel it and it's different.
It's different.
Now, and I've said this multiple times in the first, just after the first couple of days. They have to go execute. So you can be talented as you want and end up being 9-3. Just ask some of those less mile LSU teams.
Mm-hmm. Ole Miss, Lisa.
Yeah. I mean, just that can happen. But I agree with you on talent. It's just kind of eye popping.
It is.
You're looking around and all of a sudden, like Zealous Hicks shows up and he's 6'2" and change and moves his feet, and you're like, what? He's not even in the 2 deep.
Yeah. That's like the special teams, to your point though, Bobby, the special teams should be elite again. Last year, I understand the kicking game suffered, but you have no excuse for your coverage teams not to be elite, not to have elite gunners. You just have too much. Your special teams is going to be filled with all these guys we're talking about, these 6'2" safeties that aren't necessarily starting for you. They're going to be on, like Jonah Williams is supposed to be like a special teams contributor. Like what? Cade Phillips, right? That's crazy.
Zealous Hicks. I mean, what? By the way, did you think anything of the punter? I forgot to ask you that. Did you notice?
I did not. I did not go watch the punter, but I was in on multiple conversations of people bragging about the punter. That's all I was saying. I didn't even go see it because it was on another field. So I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna go up there and see the punter. But while I was hanging out down there with coaches and with like staff, most people bragging about the punter. Guys, when was the last time Texas was bragging about a punter? Long Ball Dixon. Long Ball Dixon was it. That's why he got the name. He was an MVP of a bowl game. So, yeah.
All right. Thanks again to Rod Babers, as well as our producer, Matt Hutchinson. Also, thank you to the folks over at Advanced Pain Care. Same and next day appointments available at Advanced Pain Care throughout Central Texas. All right, Rod, thanks so much. We'll have more later. And I want to mention this. Jerry and Jeff are getting together and talking about the wide receivers. We went a little in depth there, but they're going to talk a little bit more about that and maybe give a little breakdown there later today. For Rod Babers, I'm Bobby Burton. You guys have a good weekend. Hook 'em.
Hook 'em.